Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? Hope everybody is doing amazingly well. Welcome back to another lesson of English with Ashish. And guys, today in this lesson, we are going to learn everything about clauses. So we'll learn what a clause is, how many types of clauses we have in English, that is 7. How do we use it? How do we identify it? What it does in a sentence? Everything about it. So the lesson is going to be really informative. It's going to change your life. It's going to step up your English game. So make sure you watch it until the end. I'm excited. I know you guys too. Let's start with understanding what exactly a clause is in English. So guys, in English, a clause is a group of words. It is a group of words that has a subject and a main verb. It is more than a word. A group of words can be just one word. In what situation, in what scenario, I'll tell you that, don't worry, right? But generally, it is a group of words that has a subject and a main verb, right? These two things at minimum are needed in order to form a clause. So the least we need to form a clause is a subject and a main verb, right? Now, how many types of clauses we have in English? We have 7 types of clauses. Main clause, also known as an independent clause. Dependent clause, also known as a subordinate clause. Adjective clause, which is a type of a dependent clause. Adverb clause, again a type of a dependent clause. Noun clause, again a type of a dependent clause. Relative clause, a type of an adjective clause, which is a type of a dependent clause. And the last one is a participle clause. Should I actually call it a clause? Participle clause? Does it actually exist? Should it be a phrase or clause? We'll talk about it. Don't worry. Let's start with the very first one, main clause. A main clause, also known as an independent clause, commonly known as an independent clause or principal clause is a complete sentence. It is a complete sentence. It is a clause which means a group of words that has a subject and a verb, main verb, right, which has a complete meaning. So a main clause renders a complete meaning. All right, let me show you some examples of main clauses. Number 1, I love you all. I love you all, which is true. I do. I love all of you. All right, so I is the subject, love is the main verb. There you go, you have a clause. You just have a clause. Which type? Main clause, because it has a certain meaning. It has a complete meaning, which is I love you all. All right, second example, Max lives in Dubai. Max lives in Dubai. So in this example, Max is the subject, lives is the verb, main verb, in Dubai, a prepositional phrase. The least we need in order to form a clause is a subject and a verb, which we have. Max is the subject, lives is the main verb. In Dubai, we can have something else as well. Max lives in Dubai with his family. We can do that as well, but that doesn't make a difference. All right, it's just more information, right? The least we need in order to form is a subject and a main verb. All right, that example, you are amazing. Yes, you are amazing. It has a certain meaning. It's a complete sentence. Independent clause, right? Main clause, you is the subject, are is the main verb, linking verb, amazing is a subject complement, right? You are amazing. Last, leave. It's a word, just one word, but it's a complete sentence, right? It's an exclamatory sentence, right? Here we have an implied subject, which is you. You leave. All right, this is what it is. You leave. So you is the subject, leave is the verb. There you go. You have a clause, right? That is what a main clause is, also known as an independent clause. Now, what is a dependent clause? See guys, a dependent clause, also known as a subordinate clause, is a clause that does not render a complete meaning. As the name goes, it does not render a complete meaning. Note this down. It does not give a complete idea, as it is a dependent clause. That is why we're calling it a dependent clause, right? So it depends on an independent clause in order to give a complete meaning. It just cannot stand alone, right? A dependent clause depends on an independent clause in order to give a complete meaning, in order to give a complete idea. All right. Note that a dependent clause starts with a subordinating conjunction. Subordinating. N is missing. My bad. Subordinating conjunction and functions as either a noun or an adjective or an adverb, right? So it's a clause that does not give a clear idea, that does not give a complete meaning. It is dependent on an independent clause and it functions either as a noun or as an adjective or as an adverb. This is very important to note. Now, here are some subordinating conjunctions that a dependent clause starts with. Right on your screen are some common subordinating conjunctions that a dependent clause starts with. Now, let's take some examples and see how these dependent clauses function. Example number one, I love what I do. So you can love something or somebody, right? Here, I love what I do. I don't want to name the thing that I do, or I don't just know that, right? So I'm using a dependent clause to refer to that thing, right? I love what I do. So here, what is the subordinating conjunction? I is the subject and do is the verb. So it is a dependent clause, right? Alone, it does not make any sense. If I say what I do, what I do, and keep it like that, it does not make any sense. What I do, what? Something has to be there, right? It has to be joined with something in order to give a complete meaning, right? So I love what I do. So here it's functioning as a noun. It's functioning as the object of the verb love. He called me after the class ended. He called me. That itself is a complete sentence. He called me. But do I know the time of the action? No. Now I do. He called me when? After the class ended, right? So this is talking about the verb. Called. He called me when? After the class ended. So it is functioning as an adverb, right? Talking about the time of the action, right? He called me when? After the class ended. So after is a subordinating conjunction. The class is the subject, ended is the verb. There you go. You have a dependent clause. After the class ended. Alone, it does not make any sense. After the class ended, then what happened? Something has to be there, right? So here it's working as an adverb. Third example, I want a man who can lead this team. I want a man. What kind of a man? Who can lead this team? So here, who can lead this team is a dependent clause starting with this subordinating conjunction, which is working as the subject of this clause, dependent clause, who can lead this team, right? So here, this subordinating conjunction is functioning as the subject of the clause, all right? So I want a man, what kind, what type of a man who can lead this team. So here, who can lead this team? This dependent clause is working as an adjective, modifying the noun man. I want a man. What type of a man? Who can lead this team? So here, it's functioning as an adjective, right? Last example. We will go somewhere fancy if we get this deal. We will go somewhere fancy if we get this deal. So we will do this, we will go somewhere fancy when, in what circumstance, in what condition, if we get this deal. So if we get this deal is a subordinate clause, dependent clause, which is modifying this entire sentence, working as an adverb, modifying this entire sentence and working as a condition. In what condition this will happen? We will go somewhere fancy. In what condition? When? If we get this deal. So if is a subordinating conjunction, we is the subject, get is the main verb, this deal is the object. All right. So this is what a dependent clause is. It starts with subordinating conjunctions like because, since, when, where, how, though, as though, even though, whenever, wherever, and all these words you see on the screen, right? All these conjunctions, subordinating conjunction. So dependent clauses start with these words and either function as a noun or an adjective or as an adverb. All right. Now, we have three different types of dependent clauses: adjective clause, adverb clause, and noun clause. We'll talk about them one by one. Let's start with the very first one, adjective clause. An adjective clause is a dependent clause, as I just told you. It is a dependent clause that functions as an adjective, as the name goes, adjective clause. So it is a dependent clause that functions as an adjective, and it starts with the following conjunctions. These are the conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, that a dependent clause functioning as an adjective starts with. All right. Why, where, when, it's when, how, that, who, whom. All right. Let's take some examples. Example number one. I know someone who can do this job. I know someone. If I just end the sentence here, it has a different meaning. I know someone, right? I know someone who can do this job. Now you're modifying the pronoun someone. You're giving information about it. What someone? Who can do this job? So who can do this job is a dependent clause functioning as an adjective, giving information about the pronoun someone, right? Someone, whom. Who can do this job? Who can do this job? So who is the subordinating conjunction? Can is the main verb. Sorry, auxiliary verb. Do is the main verb. Right. This job is the object. All right. I know someone who can do this job. The watch that I bought on my birthday got lost. Which watch are you talking about? The watch got lost. Which watch? The watch that I bought on my birthday. So it's giving essential information about the noun watch, helping us to identify the watch, right? Referring to the watch that the speaker is talking about, right? The watch, which watch? That I bought on my birthday. So that is the conjunction. I is the subject, bought is the main verb, right? On my birthday, prepositional phrase, right? Again, functioning as an adjective, modifying the noun watch. Third, John knows a place where we can hide our money. John knows a place. What kind of a place? Where we can hide our money. So this is giving information about the noun place, right? If you want to give more information about the noun place or any noun that is referring to a place, we use an adjective clause starting with the word where. Right? John knows a place where we can hide our money, right? So where is the conjunction? We is the subject, can is the helping verb, hide is the main verb, our money is the object of the verb. Hide what? Our money, right? So John knows a place. What kind of a place? Where we can hide our money. Last, no one can understand the reason why he left the job. No one can understand the reason. What reason? Reason why he left the job, right? Reason why he left the job. So why he left the job is a dependent clause, because alone it does not make any sense, right? All these clauses, who can do this job, that I bought on my birthday, where we can hide our money, why he left the job, alone they do not make any sense. They're not complete, right? They need something. So these are working as adjective, modifying a noun or a pronoun. So here, why he left the job is giving information about the noun reason. No one can understand the reason. Reason what reason? Why he left the job. Why conjunction, he subject left. Main verb, the job, object of the verb left. Got the point? That is what an adjective clause is. Next, adverb clause. What is an adverb clause? An adverb clause is a dependent clause that functions simple as an adverb, right? Like a regular adverb like fast, slowly, well, it too modifies the main verb, generally the main verb, and talks about the reason or the place or the time or the manner of the action, or works as a reason or works as a condition, right? This is how it modifies the main verb of a sentence, all right? And if you want to modify the main verb in terms of its time, you want to talk about the time of the action, you'll start your adverb clause with these conjunctions, right? When, after, before, as soon as, since. If you want it to work as a reason, you're going to start it with because, since, or as, all right? Place, where, wherever, everywhere. Manner, talk about in what manner something happens. It's going to start with like, as though, as if. Concession, though, even though, although is another word, right? Although. Condition, if, even if, unless, right? Let's take some examples and understand how dependent clauses function as an adverb, and talk about the time, manner, concession, and all these things. All right. Example number one. I will call you after the meeting gets over. I will call you. What is the main verb? Call. I will call you. When? When will you call me? Ask the question. After the meeting gets over. This is the answer, right? So after the meeting gets over is a dependent clause, because starting with a subordinating conjunction, has the subject, has a verb, but cannot stand alone, right? So it's a dependent clause that cannot stand alone, right? And it's giving information about the main verb in terms of its time. I will call you, talking about the time of the action. I will call you when? After the meeting gets over or before the meeting gets over, right? I can use different types of subordinating conjunctions. Second, you can sleep wherever you want. You can sleep. What is the main verb? Sleep. You can sleep. But where? Wherever you want. You can sleep where? Wherever you want. Right. Third, I could not come because I was busy. I could not come. I could not come. What is the reason? Just give me the reason. Reason. What is the reason, Ashish? Because I was busy. All right, this is the reason. So, because I was busy, dependent clause working as an adverb, modifying the main verb of the sentence, giving the reason why the action happened or didn't happen, right? I could not come. Why? Because I was busy. All right, so it's working as a reason. Last, not the last on this page, right? She was dancing as if no one was around. She was dancing in what manner? In what manner? Just talk about the manner. In what manner? As if no one was around. As if no one is around. So as if is the conjunction, no one is the subject, was is the main verb. All right. So here it's talking about the manner of the action. In what manner the action happened. Next, concession, right? If you want to like show a contrast, he failed the test though he worked very hard. He failed the test though he worked very hard, right? So it's giving information about the verb failed. He failed it. He should not have failed the test because he worked very hard. So it's showing two different pictures, right? He failed the test even though he worked very hard, though he worked very hard, although he worked very hard, right? If you want to put more stress, use although or even though. Though is little neutral, right? Works well though. All right. Last, if you work very hard, you will get it done. If you work very hard, you will get it done. So the main clause is you will get it done. You will get something done. Condition, in what condition? When? Right. Just talk about the condition. In what condition will I get it done? Right. If you work very hard, right? So if you look at this clause, if you work very hard, it cannot stand alone, right? It's an if clause that works as a condition. In this condition, this will happen. All right. So this is how an adverb clause functions, right? I have a detailed lesson on my channel on adverb clauses, on adjective clauses, all these different types of clauses. All right. So after the video ends, you can like check out these lessons and you can go through them and master all these clauses separately as well. All right. And detailed post on all these topics are available on my website www.englishwithashish.com as well. All right. Next, noun clause. A noun clause is a dependent clause that functions as a noun, as the name goes, noun clause. So just like a regular noun, it can function as the following: as the subject, as the object of a verb, as the object of a preposition, as the subject complement, as the object complement, as a regular noun does. So it can also follow all these functions. All right. Now, note this. Noun clauses always start with these conjunctions: what, whom, that, which, how, where, when, and why. All right. Note this, it's very important, right? These are the conjunctions a noun clause starts with, right? Let's look at some examples. Example number one: what I had at the party was very expensive. What is the subject of this sentence? What was very expensive? What I had at the party. This is our noun clause functioning as a noun, right? Working as the subject of this sentence. What I had at the party. What conjunction? I subject, had main verb, right? What I had at the party. So it must have a name, right? What I had at the party must have a name, but either I don't know the name or I don't want to reveal the name. So I'm using noun clause to refer to that item. What I had at the party was very expensive. All right, working as the subject. No one knows what, where he lives. Knows what, you can know something, right? No one knows what, where he lives, right? So it's starting with the conjunction where, because it's referring to a place, right? No one knows what, where he lives. So it's working as the object of the verb knows. Let's not talk about what happened at the party. Let's not talk about what. Talk about what happened at the party. So what happened at the party is working as the object of the preposition about. Let's not talk about what happened at the party. So it's working as the object of the preposition. Next, subject complement. Subject, not object. Subject complement. Example: your problem is that you don't listen to anyone. Your problem, subject, main subject, is linking verb, subject complement, that you don't listen to anyone. This is the subject complement, right? Your problem equals to you don't listen to anyone, that you don't listen to anyone. You can omit the conjunction as well, right? Your problem is you don't listen to anyone, right? So that you don't listen to anyone is a dependent clause working as a noun, working as the subject complement, right? Working as the subject complement. Last, object complement. It can also function as the object complement. Examples: you can call me whatever you want. You can call me what? I can call you what? Whatever you want, right? So whatever conjunction, you subject, want verb. So whatever you want is a dependent clause for functioning as a noun, working as a noun, working as the object complement. So just like a regular noun, a noun clause can also function as the subject, object of a verb, object of a preposition, subject complement, and object complement. We just have seen that. All right. If you want more examples, visit my website. The link to this post, right? Noun clauses is in the description, right? You can just check it out, right? Or you can watch my video on noun clauses on the channel. You can do that as well. Next, relative clause. Guys, a relative clause is a dependent clause that functions as an adjective. It is a dependent clause that works like an adjective. It comes after a noun or a pronoun and gives information about it. See, we call it a relative clause because it starts with a relative pronoun like who, whom, which, that, and whose, right? Who is used to refer to a person, right? It can give both essential and non-essential information, restrictive and non-restrictive. Whom refers to the person, which refers to a thing, that refers to both person and thing, whose refers to, it can refer to a person, thing, or animal, but it refers to the position of the person, thing, or animal, right? Let me show you some examples and make you understand. Example number one. The man who stole your phone is from our area. If I say the man is from our area, right, would you know which man I'm talking about? No, you won't. You would not know which man I'm referring to, which man I'm talking about. So this clause, who stole your phone, is giving information about the noun man and helping us to identify which man the speaker is referring to, which man the speaker is talking about, right? So who stole your phone is a clause. What type? Independent or dependent? It's a dependent clause, right? It's a dependent clause, right? Because it cannot give a complete meaning on its own, right? It's a dependent clause. We're calling it a relative clause because it is starting with this relative pronoun who, right? And since it's functioning as an adjective modifying the noun man, we'll call it an adjective clause, right? So it's an adjective clause giving information about the noun man, right? Giving essential information. It's a restrictive relative clause, restrictive adjective clause, right? Whatever you want to call it. Okay. Second example, I know the girl whom you're dating. I know the girl. If I just end the sentence here, you would not know which girl I'm referring to. So whom you're dating, I can also use who here, who you're dating, right, is giving information about the noun girl. Which girl I'm talking about? I am talking about the girl who you are dating, right? Whom you are dating. Whom is more technical, right? But in modern English, it's not that used. We generally use who, right? So we'll say who. I know the girl who you are dating, right? Which girl? Who you are dating. So this clause is referring to that girl, right? Giving essential information about the noun girl. Third example, the books that sent me that they were amazing, you sent me that you sent me that they were amazing, right? Which books were amazing that you sent me that day, right? I'm referring to those books. So again, that you sent me that day is a relative clause starting with this relative pronoun that, giving information about the noun books, essential information. So it's an adjective clause. What type? Essential, right? Giving essential information. Fourth example, we live in Delhi, which is the capital of India, right? We live in Delhi. See, Delhi is a proper name. It is an identified name. So whatever information you give about Delhi is going to be non-essential, is going to be non-restrictive. So which is the capital of India is giving information, but not giving essential information. This is non-essential to the meaning of the sentence, right? So, and that is why we have this comma, right? Because we need to offset this because this is not an essential part of the sentence. So which is the capital of India is referring to the noun Delhi. Okay, Delhi, which is the capital of India, right? Starting with the relative noun which. So a relative pronoun starting with which always gives non-essential information, all right? And it always refers to a thing. Last example. Do you know John, whose father is a politician? Whose father is a politician is a relative clause giving information about the noun John. Since John is a proper noun, the information is going to be non-essential. It's going to be extra. And that is why we have this comma, right? Do you know John? John, whose father is a politician. All right. So this is what a relative clause is. It's a dependent clause that comes after a noun or a pronoun, generally a noun, and gives information about it. Gives information about it. The information it provides can be essential, also called restrictive, or non-essential, also called non-restrictive. So relative clauses are segregated into two types: restrictive relative clauses and non-restrictive or non-essential relative clauses. Let's start with the very first one, restrictive relative clause. It is a relative clause that gives restrictive essential information about the noun it modifies, right? It gives essential information about the noun it modifies. It is important for the meaning of the sentence. You cannot take it out of the sentence and have the same meaning, right? And that is why we call it a restrictive. It restricts the meaning of the sentence, all right? And the pronouns that we use in a restrictive relative clause are who, whom, that, and whose. Leaving that, all the other pronouns can also be used in non-restrictive relative clauses. All right, we'll see some examples. Example number one: you can never find the person who stole your money or that stole your money, right? You can never find the person, which person, who stole your money, right? Or that stole your money. We can use who or that to refer to a person and give essential information. You can never find the person, which person, who stole your money. Second, the movie that we watched yesterday was amazing. The movie was amazing. Which movie? That we watched yesterday. This is the movie we're talking about, right? You can never find the person. Which person? Who stole your money, right? Giving essential information, identifying the noun it's modifying. Third example: the student whose father name is John needs to go to the library right now. The student needs to go to the library right now. The student, which student? Whose father name is John. Whose father's name is John needs to go to the library right now. Not any student in the class. Whose father's name is John needs to go to the library, right? So these are restrictive relative clauses, right? Coming after a noun and giving essential information about them. All right. Non-restrictive relative clauses. These are dependent clauses that come after a noun or a pronoun and give non-essential information, extra information about the noun or pronoun, all right? And the pronouns that we use here are who, whom, which, and whose. We cannot use that here, right? We don't. Examples. Example number one: John Cena, who is a famous actor, follows me on Instagram. So the core sentence is John Cena follows me on Instagram. John Cena is a proper name, right? And we have given information about John Cena, which is who is a famous actor. So this is a relative clause giving information about the noun John Cena, identifying it, right? This is giving information about John Cena. But John Cena is a proper name, right? It does not need any identification. So the information becomes non-essential. And that is why we have commas before and after it, right? John Cena, comma, who is a famous actor, follows me on Instagram. So who is a relative, one of the relative pronouns that can be used in both essential and non-essential information. But it only refers to people, all right? Second, Delhi, which is the capital of India, has a lot of places for adventure, right? So the core sentence is Delhi has a lot of places for adventure. Which is the capital of India is a relative clause giving information about the noun Delhi. But since Delhi is a proper noun, this information is non-essential. It is extra. And that is why we have commas before and after it. And which is specifically used to refer to things. Which as a pronoun cannot be used to refer to people. You just cannot do that. And which is used in non-essential relative clauses, adjective clauses. All right. Third, Monica, again, proper name, whose father taught me maths. Whose father taught me maths, the famous news anchor, right? So the core sentence is Monica is a famous news anchor, right? This is the core sentence. Whose father taught me maths is giving information about the noun Monica, but since Monica is a proper noun, the information is non-essential. It is non-restrictive, all right? And that is why we have commas before and after it, right? Whose is used to refer to the position of a noun, right? So it's referring to the position of Monica. Okay. Now, some important things you have to keep in mind, right? If you just want to give essential information, right, the only pronoun that is only used to give essential information is that, right? If you want to give non-essential information, which is the only pronoun which can only give non-essential information, right? Who, whom, and whose can give both essential and non-essential information. That, who, whom, and whose identify a person, right? So these pronouns are used to refer to a person, right? And they can give essential and non-essential information as well. Leaving that only gives essential information, all right? Which is the only pronoun that refers to a thing only. Other remaining pronouns can refer to both people and thing, all right? I'm talking about relative pronouns, all right? Both person and things. That, who, and whose can refer to both people and things, all right? So this is something that you have to keep in mind, and I have a detailed post on relative clauses on my website. I'll leave the link in the description. So do visit the post after the video. All right. Now, why, when, and how can also be used as a relative pronoun in a relative clause. All right. For example, I don't know the time when she'll come. I don't know the time. Which time? When she will come. So when she will come is a relative clause starting with the relative pronoun when. It is considered a relative pronoun. Why? I don't know the reason why she's not coming. I do not know the reason. Which reason? Why she's not coming. So why she's not coming is a relative clause here starting with the relative pronoun why. The last we have is a participle clause. Guys, we should not be calling it a clause. No, we shouldn't do that. We should be calling it a participle phrase, not a participle clause. I know you've heard this term participle clause. A lot of teachers call it a clause. You will come across a lot of websites that will term it a clause. No, that's not a clause. It does not have both the subject and its finite verb. And that is why we cannot call it a participle clause. It's a phrase, not a clause. All right. So a participle clause, no, a participle phrase is a group of words that is headed by a participle that could be a present participle or a past participle or a perfect participle. All right. And it functions like an adjective, right? So it identifies a noun, modifies a noun or a pronoun, generally a noun, and works like an adjective. Now, we have three types of participle phrases, not clauses. Phrases, I deliberately did that, all right? Just to make you understand that it's not a clause, it's a phrase, all right? So we have three types of participle phrases. Number one, present participle phrases. Number two, past participle phrases. And the last is perfect participle phrases. Let's talk about them one by one. Let's start with the very first one, present participle phrase. I wrote it present participle clause, but it's not a clause, it's a phrase, all right? So present participle phrase is a phrase that starts with a present participle, an ing form of a verb, right? So a present participle phrase identifies a noun or a pronoun. It sits right before it or after it and gives information about it. Works like an adjective. It can also function as an adverb as well. We have some examples. Let's look at them. Let's study them and understand how it functions. Example number one. The guy hiding behind the door is from a different class. The guy is from a different class. Which guy are we talking about? We don't know that, right? Which is what our present participle phrase is going to help us with. The guy, which guy? Hiding behind the door. Who is hiding behind the door? Is from a different class. So we are talking about the guy, a specific guy who is hiding behind the door. That is the guy we're talking about. So hiding behind the door is a present participle phrase that is helping us understand which guy we're talking about, which guy the speaker is referring to. So it starts with the present participle hiding and is followed by this prepositional phrase behind the door. All right, and it's working like an adjective, giving information about the noun guy. Which guy? Hiding behind the door. Second example, looking at the picture of his mother, John started crying. So the main sentence is John started crying. Now, do we have a reason why he did that? Yes, we do. Looking at the picture of his mother. So John was looking at the picture of his mother, and that is why he started crying. So looking at the picture of his mother. Now, who is performing this action of looking? That is the subject, John. John was looking at the picture of his mother, and that is why, which made him start crying, right? So obviously it's identifying the noun John. John looking at the picture of his mother started crying, and it's also working as an adverb because it is causing the main action. John started crying. Why? Looking at the picture of his mother. So it's identifying the noun John, John looking at the picture of his mother, and working like an adverb. So participle phrases can function as both adjectives and adverbs as well, right? Generally functions as an adjective, can also function as an adverb as well, right? So you can change the placement of this phrase as well. You can say John, then looking at the picture of his mother, started crying, right? Started crying, right? If it comes in the middle of the sentence, it has to be offset using commas. All right, this is what a present participle phrase is. I have a detailed lesson on present participle phrases on my channel and on my website as well. If you want to learn more about it, check out my video, go to my website, and yeah, get it. The second type of a participle phrase is a past participle phrase. A past participle phrase starts with the past participle, that is a third form of a verb. All right, examples. The fruits plucked from a garden are in my room. The fruits are in my room. Now, which fruits are we referring to? Which fruits are we talking about? You don't know, right? So, plucked from our garden, which is a past participle phrase, is helping us identify the noun fruits. Which fruits are we talking about? You don't know. Now, you do. Plucked from our garden. The fruits that are plucked from our garden are in my room. So I'm talking about the fruits that are plucked from our garden. So this is a past participle phrase. Starting with the past participle plugged, pluck, plugged, plucked, plucked from our garden. All right. Second example. The boy taken to the hospital is from my colony. The boy is from my colony. Which boy are we talking about? You don't know. Right now you do. Taken to the hospital. The boy who is taken to the hospital is from my colony. So it's identifying the noun boy, giving information about it, and working like an adjective. All right. It can also function as an adverb as well. For example, motivated, motivated by his speech, his speech, I joined the company. Motivated by his speech, I joined the company, right? So I joined the company is the main clause. Motivated by the speech, by his speech is referring to the subject I motivated by his speech joined the company. So this is working as the reason why the main clause occurred. I joined the company, why? Motivated by his speech. All right. So it can also function as an adverb. Now, the last type of a participle phrase, perfect participle phrase. A perfect participle phrase starts with this present participle having, followed by a past participle, and after the past participle, you can have an object or a modifier depending upon the nature of the verb. All right, examples. Having paid the fine, I got my car back. And always remember, a perfect participle phrase works as an adverb. It works as a reason why the main clause occurs. All right. Example, having paid the fine, I got my car back. I got my car back. This is the main clause. All right. Why did I get it back? Having paid the fine. So it refers to an action that happened before the action in the main clause. So I paid the fine first and then I got my car. Because of having paid the fine, I got my car back. All right. So having paid the fine, who paid it? I. So it's referring to the subject I. I, having paid the fine, got my car back. So it's working like an adverb. Obviously, it's identifying the noun I. So it's working like an adjective as well. But it's working as an adverb as well because it's working as the reason the main clause occurred. All right. Second example. Having been beaten multiple times, Max decided to learn self-defense. So Max decided to learn self-defense is our main clause. Now ask the question why. Why did he decide to learn self-defense? Having been beaten multiple times. Now understand this. A perfect participle phrase can be in the active voice and can also be in the passive voice. When it's in the passive voice, we use the word been before the past participle, right? When the subject receives the action, not does it, receives the action, all right? So the second example, it's in the passive form. The perfect participle is in the passive form. Having been beaten multiple times, Max did not beat anybody. He got beaten, right? So having been beaten, having been beaten multiple times, Max decided to learn self-defense. So he decided to do something because something happened to him multiple times. because of something received by this guy multiple times. Having been beaten multiple times, Max decided to learn self-defense. So here as well, it's working as an adverb, right? Because it's working as the reason why the main clause occurred, right? So this is what a perfect participle phrase is. If you want to know more about it, if you need more clarity, more examples, visit my website www.englishwithashish.com or just go to my channel and we have a separate lesson on perfect participle phrases and you can learn more about it. You can have more examples in both the active form and the passive form. All right. So that's all about today's lesson. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you loved it. And if you did, make sure you like the video, share it with others. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, now you know what a clause is, different types of clauses, how they look like, how to use them, how to identify them, everything about them, right? I have separate lessons on all these clauses on my channel and my website as well. So do visit them, right, for more clarity, for more examples. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Till then, keep learning, have fun. I'm out, namaskar.